little bit later. By the way, so Dan, where are you at right now? You're in Portugal?
Sintra, Portugal.
What are you living in
Yes.
Portugal? Just going on a little vacay?
This is the whole reason why we invest in real estate is to be able to live our whys, right? So my wife and I have two kids, and our why is travel. Like we absolutely love to travel, love to see the world. So we found this program about a year and a half ago called Boundless Life. And it's you travel to
STR?
different parts of the world for anywhere from like 3 weeks is this cohort, but a lot of them are 3 months. Long story short, they have a school for kids. So as long as your kid's between 1 and 15 years old, they can go to school during the day and they learn about the culture, they learn all about where you live, and they actually have actual schooling while
No
they have a
way.
co-working hub. And that's where I'm in like this booth right now in this co-working hub.
So you basically can just go travel the world and your kids can still be educated as you go?
Yeah, I could work, my kids can be educated, and we get to see the world. Awesome. Such a great
I
experience.
want your life. I just get to work remote,
Yeah,
that's like the extent of what I know plan.
we're 5 hours ahead, so it's 4 o'clock our time. So it's you just got to get used to the
Oh,
different work. So you basically work the afternoons,
You
but
travel, Mike
11.
works.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Well, Dan is required to take on at least 10 units in Portugal while he's there for our revenue management. We're always trying to expand our global footprint. So,
Hey, I will
that's
say,
true.
yeah.
are y'all global or is it just US based?
Yeah,
No, we are.
nine
Yeah.
countries. Yeah,
Yeah, I've lost track. Yeah, the one I work with closely mostly is Mexico.
No way.
But yeah, through one of our other partners, we're definitely scattered around a couple other countries too.
Okay, so
yeah.
fun question, maybe before we kick off. What other countries are y'all working in that are interesting opportunities we should be thinking about?
Ooh, I don't.
I'm gonna say right off
Yeah,
the
what do you
bat,
have,
just because I
Dan?
know these are popular areas for short-term rentals, and from what I've been hearing from a couple of my friends who own some in this area, is Costa Rica. I know Costa Rica's
Hmm,
done pretty well. I don't. Do we have any? I don't know if we have any in Costa Rica right now, but I have friends who
yeah.
own short-term rentals down in Costa Rica, and they've done fairly well so far. So I do know that like Central South America, America region seems to be pretty well. But yeah, that's but we can always analyze it for you. If you have an area you want to look in, we can do, analyze
Hey,
it that
well, Strike
if you
is
go.
thinking about
We're
going
gonna say when is
global.
strike? Yeah,
Yeah, I
there
was
you go.
gonna say Strike's got to get
We're
international.
trying to dominate the US market first, but then we'll probably go to
Yes.
Canada or Mexico after that. But I mean, I'm getting people from Brazil and other places saying, Matt, we don't have an MLS in Brazil. It's like, can you guys come down here so we can put our properties on there and sell these things? And I'm like, actually, that is a great idea. We should
Yeah.
do that. Anyway, yes, we will go global one day, but we have to stay focused on the US first, and then we'll branch and expand from there. So if any of you guys on this call are interested in other countries or have properties in other countries, and you think Strike could go or should go to some of these others, let us know, or Synergy stays as well, and we can keep those countries top of mind. Well, all right, let's go ahead and kick this thing off. We're a little bit over five after, and excited to dive into this. Um, we are going to be talking about the profitable STR blueprint, how to find high yield, profitable properties and maximize revenue. I'm Matt Sanderson. I'm the CEO and founder of Strike. I've been in real estate about 12 years in commercial real estate doing brokerage. And I think it was about 5 or 6 years ago, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, like many of y'all probably had. And the main theme of the book was, hey, you can either invest in assets or liabilities. And if you don't invest in assets, you're probably going to be in this rat race for a long time. And so that opened my mind and my eyes to, oh my gosh, like, what am I doing? I need to buy these assets. So after doing brokerage for a few years, I decided to start buying properties. Commercial real estate at the time was too expensive. And so I discovered short-term rentals, and now I've got a portfolio of four short-term rentals and acquiring or closing on my next one next week in Fredericksburg, Texas, which we'll tell you all a little bit about later. And best of all, I'm a dad and a husband. I've got an amazing wife, Amanda, and I've got two kids, a boy and a girl, and then I've got a girl coming in January. So that's the best part. STRs are fun, but having family is even better. Dan and Mike, you want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Appreciate it. Mike Savage, co-founded Synergy Stays with Dan. My journey in short-term rentals began a little over 10 years ago with just my first property. And I will say, uh, done a lot of different things in the short-term rental world, dabbled with the full management, let other managers run my properties at certain times, took them back, gave them back to property managers, a lot of leaves and plot changes along the way. For me, short-term rentals was initially just kind of a side hustle. I was a full-time firefighter, and so it was just supplementing my income there. My wife's a teacher or was a teacher. Um, and that's how revenue management kind of came to me very organically. Is I got to a point where I was working 70 80 hours a week between the fire department, short-term rentals, other real estate investing, also married two young children, and something had to give. And so I made the choice to move on from the fire department. And all of a sudden, these short-term rentals, where they were just providing a little bit of money for us and supplementing, they kind of became our focal point. And I started to ask a lot of questions about what was the true potential revenue for them, what were they really capable of producing, so that our family could live out our dreams. And here we are today.
Yeah, and Dan Rivers, co-founder along with Mike. I've been in real estate since 2004 or five, somewhere in that range, down in Florida. I'm down in Charleston, South Carolina now. I like to say I'm a dad and husband first. I got a young daughter and then a baby boy 6 months. And I absolutely love it. As you heard in the beginning part of this, I mean, my why is that travel with the family and be able to experience the world while building something amazing. I believe in what we do. I think we have an amazing business. I have an awesome partner, two partners actually. The one's not on this call. Great partnerships, and I truly enjoy helping people build wealth, just like I'm trying to build wealth with real estate. So that's something that just makes me super excited. So happy to be partners with Mike and doing that through Synergy Stays.
Love it, guys. Well, man, I was telling someone this story the other day because again, I used to do office leasing and commercial real estate for a long time, and I literally would negotiate deals to do these 10-year leases where probably you guys are going into these office spaces and going to your cubicles and going to office spaces and all that stuff, and it can be great from culture standpoint and all that and team building. But I looked up one day and I looked at one of these office buildings, and I just was like, oh my gosh, people work so long that, from when they're 22 years old to 60 years old, and their entire life is wake up, 5, 6 a.m., get on the road for 30 minutes, go sit in a cubicle all day long, come home, you know, put your kids to bed, and then you do it over and over and over again. And that's where I was at. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm doing it, and I'm making other companies do it from a leasing perspective. I was like, man, there's got to be a better way. I need to live like Dan. I need to go travel the world. So anyway, not that, not all of us are going to be Dan. But that's when I just was like, there's got to be a better way to do this. And so then that's really kicked off my journey of wanting to buy these assets that could create freedom. Really, I think most of us are here because, you know, we may not want total financial freedom, but we just want more freedom to do the things we want. And so the major problem we're facing is, most of us are going to Zillow, then going to AirDNA and then spreadsheets and trying to piecemeal all this data together to find these needles in the haystack, these profitable properties that we really truly want to provide that freedom. And so that's why Strike emerged as a technology data company to solve that major problem. And so that's what we're really going to dive into today is how do we actually find those cash flowing properties, solve that major pain point because I felt the pain. I'm sure most of y'all are feeling the pain. And what we want to do is make that way easier. And so I'm going to show y'all a couple of case studies of actual properties I've bought through the Strike method. And so back in 2023, I had a major problem, and it's kind of like the problem I was talking about earlier on the call. I had bought, I think, two short-term rentals, kind of the old way, the Zillow AirDNA spreadsheet way. And thankfully, interest rates were really low, so I ended up being okay. But now in a high interest rate environment, I'm like, how the heck do I find these deals? So then I thought, well, why not get on Strike, the technology we built, and see what happens? And so what we're able to do is pull in these active properties for sale, like you see on the left here. And then you were able to click, like with one button, it underwrites the entire market or the entire country if you want to, based on your buy box and filters. So in this case, I wanted anything that made over 100,000 in revenue, and anything that made over 20% cash on cash return. And I think that's probably most of us on this call. And so what happens is it takes all those data points, removes them, and it reveals only the most profitable properties that you can go vet and verify. So then this property popped up here, that third slide or that third picture, and it's just kind of a typical college house in College Station, Texas, where the Aggies are. Big game coming up, by the way, this weekend, playoff game, and it fit my buy box, around 500,000 or less. It was something I could afford, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to take a risk. Let's just go for it. The data is saying that it can make a lot of money. Let's just go for it. But when I found it, I still had a lot of fear. I was like, can it actually make a lot of money? So yeah, you can go to the next slide. So that what we did is we have this app that identifies these properties. So then I went over to what we call our comps dashboard, and I said, okay, well, I need to verify and vet to make sure that this is actually true. And what happened is I did this comps analysis on it that really showed me my top comps around that property. And what happened is it gave me a range of revenue. So like AirDNA will give you one number. We give a range of revenue, which is really, really helpful and insightful for me because this is saying if I'm an average property, I could be making about $70,000. But if I'm better than average, I could be making 91,000 or even up to 120,000. Some of these properties that are 5 bedrooms are making way more than that. But, again, we're taking a lot of the data and then making it understandable. And so I said, okay, well, I want to get up to that 75th or 90th percentile revenue. Well, now I need to look at my comps and see exactly how to do it. I either need to copy them or do better. Well, thankfully in College Station, there's not that many awesome properties. There's a few that are kind of trying it out. So it's kind of easy to beat them, honestly. And so when you look at your comps here, you can see all the pictures, you can see the revenue that they're making. So on the left, the one on the left's making about 105,000. The one on the right's making about 83,000, showing there's definitely potential to get up to that 100 to 120 grand. And again, one of them has a putting green and a cool kitchen. The other one, honestly, just is a house. There's like no real amenities to it. So that's when I decided to hire a professional design group and Summer led. Got a shout out to them because they're one of my faves. And they crushed it. They took this like cheap college house and just transformed it into like this moneymaker. And so it has like Instagrammable pictures. I mean, it's unbelievable. And so on the right side, you could see some of the bookings we got. One for like 8,000 against Auburn. We got one for like 10 to 12 grand against UT. And then some of the other like standard bookings were like 4 to 6,000 with some of these other football teams. So it's definitely premium type bookings during the football season. Now in the slower season, it's more like graduations and other things. But I had some major problems that I'll have to tell you about later on and why Synergy Stays is solving those for me personally and how they can with you too. So anyway, the results were incredible. We ended up making about 90,000, 91,000 in revenue, which was the 75th percentile. And so I was thinking, I was like, man, well, actually, before I get to that, so just so y'all can see, this is another one of my clients, or a Stripe customer that did the exact same thing. I told him about my story, and he literally got on the app, found these properties super fast. He was able to pinpoint it, like you see there on the left side, and then now he created another amazing experience, and he is crushing it. And so what he did is he took a 4 bedroom property, and he transformed the garage into an additional space and one of the other spaces into the house into another space. So it's a 6 bedroom, put in a pickleball court, karaoke room, uh, cowboy pool, all these amazing amenities. And he is crushing it, even better than me, which is fun because you got to learn from me and then just do what I did or better, right? So the problem I was facing was, Dad gummit, the data says I can make 120 grand, but I'm only making 91 grand. Literally, I'm like right there on the 75th percentile, which is still way better than any long-term rental. And I was like, what is the problem? Is it the data? Is it me? I don't know. And what I discovered is I was the problem. And, the data is real and it's accurate, but sometimes we're the problem. And me, I'm busy. I've got 3 kids or almost 3 kids now. I'm running a company. I've got 5 short-term rentals. And I'm just like, I don't have time to get into my price labs and go manipulate the data and not do all this stuff. So Dan calls me up and anyway, he's awesome. And he just was telling me about what he does. And I've been hearing about like this revenue management thing. And I'm like, I don't know. And I was like, can we just do some like case, test stuff? And so we started testing this out together and I started seeing results. I was like, oh my gosh, like these guys are legit. And so what happened is I gave them my entire portfolio, which is 4 properties now, and it'll be 5 soon. And we did a test case. We said, okay, well, let's start in August and see where we end in December, and let's continue it on. And here's some actual results. So my
Is low. Yeah. So I started writing.
someone might need to go on mute. So this is a couple of case studies. So I got 4 properties with them, but here's 2 that I'll explain. So last year, I made 47,000 bucks between August and December with my College Station house. This year I made over $50,000. And what's crazy about that is last year I had the UT game at College Station, which was like a $10,000 booking. So these guys still helped me crush it, even when I didn't even have UT here. And then my Fredericksburg house went from 22,000 to 27,000, an extra $5,000 over that time period. So I can't imagine how much more revenue I'm going to be making over an entire calendar year, especially as I get more familiar with my properties. So anyway, that's real results that I'm experiencing. And honestly, I'm excited about it and love them. And I think you guys need to be using them too. So I think what I would love to hear from Dan and Mike is an overview of what you guys are doing. And if y'all are able to give us some of y'all secret sauces, that would be awesome to hear too.
Appreciate you, Matt. Appreciate everything. And we love working with you guys. Yeah, so Synergy Stage, just a quick overview. It's a revenue management company. I know this is a new term, as Matt kind of mentioned, just going around the industry. Like it used to just be, short-term rental property management. That is one of the big differences I think we're going to see. We've seen it in 2025. We're going to really see a shift over the next year or two into you need to treat short-term rentals as 2 separate businesses. You have the hospitality side, crushing it on the designs and what you're putting together like you are, Matt. Those properties are amazing. You give good guest experiences. That's extremely important. But at the same time, you have to pull all the right levers, learn the algorithms, A/B test, all the iterations to make sure that you're driving as much potential revenue and you're hitting that 90th percentile. So it's 2 separate businesses. And that's where Mike and I came together and created Synergy Stays. As we said, hey, short-term rental management is no longer just one business. You need someone that's focused solely on driving revenue, not just someone that works 9 to 5 at a management company or you do it part-time. It's a full-time understanding the industry, understanding all the nuances, the growth,
And see, and that was my
just
problem was I was getting into price labs because at least that was better than
yep.
manual pricing. But then with price labs, you still have to get in there very, very often. And there's all sorts of things you can manipulate that I just got overwhelmed, honestly. I was like, I'm a data guy and this is overwhelming. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I can imagine other people out there that's never done this before.
Oh, 100%. And how many people buy a short-term rental being like, I can't wait to nerd out on driving revenue? It's not about
I
that.
know. It's like, I
You
just
want
want to make money.
revenue,
Come
but
on.
you want to design an awesome experience. I mean, let's be real, and you should. I mean, that's the fun part of buying a short-term rental. So that's a little bit about short-term Synergy Stays and why we created it and what we're doing. But Mike's going to hop into a little bit about like what revenue management is.
Yeah, I want to dive into it, but first, I do want to say I will be looking to purchase a short-term rental property in 2026 as well. I've already started playing around with Strike a little bit, learning it. Matt, you and I will definitely have some more conversations.
Oh, we're gonna get your property, my friend.
I'm very excited for it, and it's going to be a sharp contrast. I've had a lot of successes in the short-term rental world, but I would be lying if I said there weren't plenty of struggles and failures along the way. And sitting here right now, I have 2 properties in Florida that I purchased 3, 4 years ago, and that's going to be my only complaint with Strike is that I'm glad you're here today, but I really could have used you back then because I have some of these properties that are struggling, that weren't great investments, a lot of money and time sunk into those that I wish I had the foresight to analyze a little bit better and understand what I was getting into. Yeah.
Well, hey, we're here now, and we can use that comp dashboard to figure it out, man. We'll get you that 90th percentile
We will
up there.
But getting into revenue management, on the left-hand side here, I've got just literally a copy-paste dictionary definition of revenue management. I'll read through it real quick. I hate to do it, but it's the strategic practice of using data analytics, forecasting to sell the right product to the right customer at the right price, time, and channel, maximizing revenue from fixed or limited inventory. It's common in airlines, hotels, and retail. It's about dynamically adjusting pricing and availability to match fluctuating demand, moving beyond simple cost-plus pricing to understand consumer behavior and market trends. That's a great, very technical definition of revenue management. I don't disagree with any of it. I just also added my definition on the right-hand side, which is much more simplistic and to me just really captures the true nature of revenue management, just the relentless pursuit of what is possible, right? Like if you learn the stuff on the left-hand side, which you can do through some courses and masterminds, I did it. You could even have a degree in econometrics or something like that. You can go a long way with that. But truthfully, and I've had the opportunity to network within the revenue management community. Just got back from Durham in Florida, which is an awesome conference. Top revenue managers from around the country. And what I would say stands out and truly differentiates a great revenue manager from someone that's just doing some revenue management is that relentless pursuit of what's possible. Just asking questions constantly. I see a lot of people, friends, owners, a booking will come in and they open it up and it's like the highest booking they've ever seen and they're just ecstatic, right? And I'm a little envious because I don't get to experience that. Like I see a booking come in and I'm like, well, what could we have done differently to get $5 more per night on this, or hopefully even more than that. That's just the way my mind works. It's what I do every single day. But yeah, just constantly asking questions and not just pricing, right? Like, what if I change my cancellation policy? What if I move this picture and make this my first picture instead of my fifth picture? What if I change my title up a little bit on my listing description? Even the most minute details, always just wondering and pursuing. It's being a scientist and coming up with some hypotheses, testing them out, seeing what the results are, and going from there. And it's just constant.
Yep. Let's hop into speaking of that. I mean, as Mike was just mentioning, how it's constant and you're always testing things. People think, oh, revenue management, you strictly think about pricing strategies, but there's a lot of non-pricing strategies that can actually move the needle. So Mike's going to just talk about these real quickly, but then we're going to hop into some real life examples.
Yeah, and I know Dan said real quickly on purpose because I could literally talk about each one of these things for probably 10 to 15 minutes, and maybe there'll be a time and place for that down the road. But I'm going to touch on each one really quickly, like Dan said, try to provide like a little, whatever I think is the most high value insight or maybe a tip or trick. Merchandising. I think I see this so often, owners, it takes so much time and energy to create your listing and get it all up and running, right? You kind of get to that point, you're like, I'm done, thank goodness. But like, you're not done, right? Like that's just the beginning, having created your listing and all that. And I would liken it to, some people might be a little bit familiar with retail, right? Like you go into a grocery store and you don't realize how much is going on behind the scenes, like why you're seeing certain products where you are at the end caps, at the checkout aisles, right? Like the gum and the candy that you grab on the way out, right? Like all these brands, in the cereal aisle, like they're all vying for that top space on the shelf that's at eye level, right? Like all that's going on behind the scenes, and we don't realize it as consumers, but it certainly impacts our decisions and the things that we grab off the shelves. And same thing with, we'll use Airbnb because that's probably our most popular OTA by far. Same thing, right? Like it's not just about getting our listing complete and throwing it on there and then what happens. Like we are competing in this case for that page 1 or page 2 exposure, because we know that by far the highest percentage of bookings happen on those first couple of pages. And so just real quick, like I'll say, these OTAs, whether it's Airbnb and even VRBOs moving in this direction more and more, they offer us the ability to use promotions, discounts, a lot of these levers that we can pull. And when we're using a pricing tool, like say Price Labs, for example, it's very easy to just push all our pricing through there. But truthfully, it's a little bit lazy. We always want to be thinking like, are we going to benefit more from pushing the pricing from our pricing tool, which we do immensely in a lot of situations? Or is there something that we can jump over and use a promotion or a discount to get us that extra visibility, that merchandising, that psychological advantage, where potential guests are seeing like the strike through or the call out or the various tools that Airbnb uses to reward us when we use those. So that's like our first tip there is like get on and make sure you're using those as much as possible rather than just lowering or raising pricing. Listing optimization. Again, getting more into that algorithm and search engine optimization. This is looking at the qualitative aspects of your listing. Photos, your hero photo, that's your first photo. Make that whatever's going to grab people's attention the most, right? Like it doesn't have to even be the most important part of your property or like the main part of your property. It just needs to be eye-catching, right? Like you want people to be scrolling and say like, this may or may not be the right property for me, but I just have to click and look at the, like, this picture looks so cool and different, right? Unique. That's that picture's job. Now you get into the listing, your top 4 to 5 photos. Now you're quickly jumping into what are those peak amenities or features or experiences that you want to sell in your property, right? We know people have very little attention span these days. You know, we need to make that impression very quickly. And then from there, you can kind of proceed into that typical traditional like tour through the house and showing the different rooms and stuff. But its hero photo is just, its job is to grab attention to get you to click into the listing. The next 4 to 5 photos, those are to get you excited and sell some of those, you know, what we would call features, benefits, amenities, and title as well. I'll touch on. I know a lot of people love to use like names for their listings, and there is a time and place for those if it conveys a very specific value or unique feature about your listing. Otherwise, stay away from them. Like you have a very short opportunity to, again, sell people on why your listing is unique or different. One tip or trick that we like to use that I'll share is using AI, right? Like ChatGPT. If you have especially if you have a little history with your listing, go ahead and take all your guest reviews, just copy them, paste them, drop them into ChatGPT, and ask them to help you, reveal to you what are the top 4 or 5 things that guests have commented on about this property that they've liked about it. Now it's given you that insight into what is unique about your property. What are people loving? What are they talking about in their reviews? That's probably going to speak to other potential guests as well. You can go ahead and incorporate that into your listing description or your title.
You can also use those same,
ahead,
when you throw those reviews in there, you can also use those same details to ask them what you can do to make your listing, stand out more and better, because you've given them all the reviews
100%.
and all that information. So you might as well utilize that for both purposes.
And also, sorry, maybe Matt's going to go here. I'm going to try to go here for him. It's also about, right, seeking out your competition, and with a tool like Strike, you can go in again. You can quickly pull up what, like, copycat other people, right? See what the top listings are doing, and bring your own twist to it. But like, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. And that ability to go into a market and quickly find those top properties, click on the listings, see them. The proof is in the pudding. If they've already done it, learn from what they're doing and maybe tweak it a little bit. But that's a real good shortcut. Is that where you're going, Matt?
Totally agree. Yeah, the one caveat to that is we just implement, and this just rolled out, implemented a feature where it shows remove anything that 90% of all these properties have amenity wise and show me only that top 10%. So we've taken it a step further of all these listings that we pull in comp wise. Hey, what are the top 10% amenities that you need to have to drive that ROI? And so we're able to uncover that and then let you guys go maximize revenue based on that. So that's a new feature that just got rolled out, which is pretty cool.
That's a massive time saver versus having to manually go through and do that work in the back end. I love that.
So you'll see a couple others in there: the cancellation policy, the boosting visibility, the marketing, anything you want to touch upon there.
Yeah, no, just cancellation policy, just highlighting flexibility is huge, especially in today's consumer. We've seen that in 2025 and more and more heading into 2026. Just realize that setting your cancellation policy isn't just about your risk management on the back end, the risk of those cancellations happening. Understanding that the stricter your policy is, you're also risking on the front end. You're losing potential guests and bookings by being too strict. The visibility stuff, similar to the cancellation policy, just removing as many restrictions as possible. Again, there is a time and place for, whatever your cancellation policy needs to be, whatever your minimum length of stay requirements need to be. But always, like, generally speaking, less restrictive is going to be better. And that doesn't mean that if you allow that 2-night booking where you previously had a 4-night minimum length of stay, it doesn't mean you're going to get all 2-night bookings. That's where we can use a lot of the merchandising and some of those other things to get the longer bookings that we want. But we also want to be visible in as many searches as possible, put as many eyes on our listings as possible. And so we want to remove those restrictions. And marketing, I honestly won't get into. That's kind of more advanced. I would say start with those other four things, but marketing is where we're always trying to get to next, especially if we have these super properties where we can start to look at some off-platform exposure and driving more direct bookings as well.
And I'll just say one of the big problems I had, especially with my college station house, was I was like, I know I can make 120,000 or whatever number on this. So I'm going to do minimum 3 night stays across the board and high pricing because we're awesome, And so that's where you came in and you were educating me like, Matt, I know we want 3 night stays if we can, but if you go down to 2 night stays and you do some of these different discounts and you do all this wizardry behind the scenes, it could still generate. And it's the stuff I was like, dude, I didn't even know. I mean, I kind of knew some of that stuff, but I mean, yeah, there was a major pain problem that I was facing that I was just shooting myself in the foot that you guys, I mean, this is all y'all do all day long, that y'all are the experts in. So the minimum night stay was a really big eye opener for me that, hey, you don't have to have just a standard thing. You can have it kind of fluctuating depending on the strategy.
Yeah, and you're not alone there, right? Because that's what we did, what we do, and what we did for you is just very counterintuitive, right? Like, hey, we're going to shorten all your minimum lengths of stays across the board. Like
And I
the
was
first
scared when
reaction,
you did
the
that. I was
first
like,
reaction we get is, well, I don't want a bunch of short bookings, and it's like, well, wait a minute, like that's not necessarily going to be the result, right?
I know.
So yeah, it does run counterintuitive if we're going to shorten our length of stay requirement. Aren't we going to get more shorter bookings? And the answer is not necessarily.
Yeah.
Continuing with the non-pricing levers, here's just a couple quick little screenshot snippets from some of our actual clients that we're working with. These are actually from RankBreeze, which is a great little tool just to do that, execute that A/B testing. And again, if you're going to spend the time and change your picture order around or try a different cancellation policy, like, right, it doesn't really do us any good if we're not able to track that, see what the result is, and determine, do we want to keep this? Do we want to run with it even more and take it another level? Do we want to try something different? And so that's what we use RankBreeze for. And on the right-hand side there, a couple A/B test results from stuff that we did. The first one is a photo reordering, and it's pretty cool. It just gives us a snapshot of what it did for our search ranking position. Sometimes it'll throw in there like how many bookings occurred, and we typically do a 2-week A/B testing trial. So that's important to keep in mind too, right? We don't want to overlap too many different changes at once because then we really don't know which change is bringing about which effect. So we have to stay patient with that and kind of work through one thing at a time. It's very sequential.
Wow. So it's kind of like paid ads on Facebook. Like you want to do one change, test it, and then do another
100%.
kind of test it. And then whatever that change was, you'd like double down on the one that produces the best result almost.
Yep, spot on.
And that's, I mean,
Below
that's
that, and I know sorry,
I
Dan.
was going to say that's what revenue management is, and that's the whole thing. It's like there's not a one size, fits all, just one trick you do, one thing. It's a constant iterations, A/B testing. Because guess what? Every season's going to adjust a little bit accordingly. There's going to be, we saw this happen where bookings window compressed and people were either getting booked 2 weeks out or what was it, like 60 days out. And then all of a sudden that started to loosen again. So like it's constantly adjusting and A/B testing because the market's going to change or,
Yeah.
the season changes or, it's a lot, or you have all of a sudden we have one client, they had 40 new similar homes that came to the market within the last, I think, 6 months. And that changed drastically. So there's a lot of different adjustments you have to continue to be doing. That's why it's more of a, something you got to take a lot of time to do and consistently do. But we're going to hop into some pricing strategies now as well, and then give an example.
Yeah, so length of stay discounts. I won't get into that too much because that's the example we're going to give next. Fire out booking strategy. This is a big one. I think people are slowly coming around, but so many people learn some really bad habits, especially if you were able to participate in the post-COVID gold rush, right? Where owning short-term rentals was like printing money and just easy. And we were just constantly raising our rates more and more further out because we felt like we were getting booked up so quickly, everybody, that it was just like, oh my, like we couldn't figure out how to capture the potential revenue fast enough. And a lot of people carried that over. And then we had the correction after that kind of gold rush of sorts. And so many people, we still see this today though, like, 6 months from now, this coming summer, their pricing is set at rates that it might be double or even maybe triple what they actually booked it for this last summer. And so it's understanding, like, let's be realistic here, right? Like everybody's a little different based on where they're coming from or what their market is doing, where they're at. But 10, 15, 20%, like I think generally speaking, we would all be really thrilled to see that kind of a growth year over year. So why aren't we realistically targeting that? Like, it sounds great. Well, I'll just throw that, throw it out there at 50% higher than last year. But if, you're just wasting time by overpricing far out. So it's just being very realistic on your far out stuff. Cash flow rhythms just really speaks to having a schedule. The more you get into revenue management and learn various things and you start doing certain things, you'll see it's very easy to just really get tunnel vision and dive into one particular thing. And that's, we've even learned that as a company, from 2 years ago, we were doing a ton of revenue management and doing it really well, but maybe not the most efficiently. And that's was a major progress milestone for us, is to really be able to develop a daily, weekly, monthly set of schedules and routines that kind of keeps everything on track, make sure everything is happening when it needs to be happening. Calendar management is huge. Dan talks about this a lot too. Like, we only have 365 units to sell, right? Calendar days a year. So they're pretty precious. The two biggest things I'll point out there, kind of tips or tricks, is when you get that booking, typically Friday and Saturday are going to be our highest value nights. If you get that booking that's checking out, say, on a Friday morning, and especially if you don't allow one night minimum stays, let's go in and make sure that nobody is able to check in on that Saturday, because now you're going to create a gap night on a Friday. And the last thing we want is to have a Friday night that is not bookable, right? So that's the first thing. You can do that a variety of ways. You can go in and put manual blocks in place. You can use rule sets on Airbnb. There's different ways to go about it, but just tracking that and making sure that we are protecting our calendar inventory moving forward. And then secondary to that, when the gap nights do happen, because they will, being aggressive and go out and try to upsell those nights to your guest that's checking out the night before, or the guest that's checking in the night after. I know a lot of people get caught up on the nightly rate and what they think they should be charging, but so many times it's going to be beneficial to sell that gap night even at a 50% discount to an existing booking, so you're not worried about a party or a short stay or anything like that, but still want to try to get whatever we can out of that calendar night.
Yeah, because that's, at that point, you're pretty much straight profit. You already have the cleaning, you already have all your expenses. It's just pretty much straight profit that extra night.
Yep. And here's just some quick examples, again, using those pricing levers. And kind of the theme we ran with here is, every market's a little different, but a lot of the markets that we're in, those winter months are our off-peak season, right? Like December, end of December, maybe January, February, maybe heading into March a little bit. That's when we have a lot of markets that just see very low occupancy from a market standpoint, might be sitting at 30%, 40%. So the vast majority of listings or hosts in that case, they just have 60%, 50%, of their nights are just sitting unbooked for those months. We talked about those length of stay incentives, and the proof is in the pudding here. This isn't just coincidence or chance. We didn't just get lucky and get these longer bookings. We went out and sought them. We, captured that psychological benefit for people that are looking for those longer bookings, and we're able to draw them into our listings to get these booked. And, again, yes, using that length of stay, we're going to oftentimes be giving a pretty significant discount. It's going to mess with your comfort level from like what ADR or what you feel like your nightly rate should be. But I think it's just important that we're always looking at every single night that doesn't get booked. Our nightly rate was $0. So if you're willing to rent your house out for $0, you need to be flexible about the real money that you're willing to rent it out for.
Let me
Go ahead,
pause
Matt.
there for a second, because going back to the College Station story, that's where I messed up. Is I had crushed it during football season, and I was just so proud of our property, and it was like, it's going to crush during this, down season. And I didn't adjust pricing as much as I should have, but also didn't really think about the minimum night stays and just the different tweaks that you could make to that. And so that's the problem I was facing. I want you guys to hear it too. Like, I had many weekends even that were unbooked because I didn't adjust with the market fluctuations. And so this is where you guys are adding so much value to me and just driving way more revenue, because you guys understand that market and you're willing to do it and get myself out of the way on that revenue management side. So huge testament to that. And we'll come back more into
Yeah,
that.
appreciate
Yeah.
that. And speaking to it real quick, it's just a mindset shift, right? It's so important to understand that during peak season, you might have a very specific comp set, that's 5, 6 bedrooms, similar to your property, same amenities. When you get into off-peak season and properties are sitting empty, you need to tear down your comp set, right? Like Matt, your property, we might be pricing. We understand that we're at this point competing for someone that might be booking a very simple 3 bedroom, nothing fancy house. We want them to book your property instead. So if we want to play that game and we want to get that booking, we have to go out and compete with those properties. And it's, we're going to set aside our pride in the property a little bit and all the things that it has. That's just where we're at in those
And to your
off-peak
point
months.
earlier, a night unbooked is $0. And so that, yeah, that's not a good thing.
Now,
Yep, 100%.
I'm going to go through key takeaways quick because I want to get to Q&A and get any questions we have popping up and let everybody ask all their questions. But I mean, at the end of the day, we talked about non-pricing levers as well as pricing levers. Make sure you're looking at both of them and focusing on both of those. Staying adaptable to market shifts, reviewing your calendar and pacing weekly, taking action early. And one thing that's not on here, but it's been kind of touched upon to some degree, it's we all love our properties. We take pride in our properties, but you putting the emotions aside and treating it like a business is so important. The only pretty much the only people we've seen have the hardest time driving revenue are the ones who say, my property is not worth less than $200 a night. Well, okay, even on a 12-night booking at 180 a night during the off season, it needs to be worth that, or you're going to be at zero, as Matt and Mike were saying. So it's putting the emotions aside and treating it like a business, because that's ultimately what you bought it for, is to drive revenue. Or if you don't want to make any more money, you're probably not on this webinar anyway. So
True.
we'll open up the Q&A here though.
Awesome. Yeah, anyone wanting to ask questions, throw it in the chat. And we will be looking at those questions as they come through.
If you have questions too, you can raise your hand to use a little reaction to raise your hand, and we'll let you know to unmute yourself.
I see Brittany has her hand raised. Hey, Brittany.
Hi. Yeah, thank you. I was starting to type it and I'm like, I don't even know if this makes any sense. Thank you all for leading this. This was really interesting and helpful. I do, okay, so I do get pushback a lot from, and I actually feel bad because back before I managed my own properties, I feel like I was kind of the same way about the nightly rate thing. And people are like, oh, you're not getting the right guests in, and like it's just costing more. I feel like you guys proposed a solution. I just wanted to make sure I kind of understood it. So like when you showed the January case study, what you're saying is did you just do longer night minimums for that month, or was it more so you did like the 30% or the 25% like weekly or monthly discounts?
Yeah, exactly. That's a great question. So that's the thing, right? Like I don't know this 100% to be true, but I'm pretty sure all those properties probably still have a 2 night minimum for those calendars that we just saw, maybe at most a 3 night minimum. So yeah, to your point, like we didn't put the restriction in place. We didn't say we're only going to take a 2 week booking, 3 week booking, whatever
Yeah.
it might be. We just provided the incentive. We dangled the carrot. We used those discounts, like you said, those length of stay discounts, and tiered them, right? So if someone had booked 5 nights, they still would have gotten a decent little discount, and some of those benefits that come with Airbnb, showing them, you would have paid this, but now you're paying this. But we just increased that pretty dramatically, more so than we would other times of year, knowing how important the occupancy was there.
Okay, that makes sense. So that's why like some of the nightly rates were like 125 because they ended up booking those really long stays. Okay, that's really smart. One last question too. I do design as well, and I'm always trying to be strategic with like the amenities and doing the market analysis and all of that. And Matt's properties like look amazing. But do you have any additional tips for when you're kind of like narrowing that down? Because right now I've been using a lot of like AirDNA and I'm just manually going through, and obviously that's kind of the point of this, but
Narrowing down your
do you
comp
have any
set. Are you
Which
saying
amenities to use or design?
what did you say? So sorry.
narrowing down comp set or which amenities to use?
No, yeah, amenities.
So I'll say my part, and then Mike and Dan, if y'all have got some other things, would love to hear y'all's thoughts. So, well, we accidentally built this because of this reason, and it turned out to be a tool we give to you guys now, and it's called our comps dashboard. And so what you do is you type in your address or your market, and it pulls in that radius around that property, and it basically pulls in a competitive market analysis of that, and it brings on all your Airbnb comps, and then you put in your filters of 5 bedrooms or whatever your property is, and it shows you all those comps. So that, maybe it's 30 comps out of 1,000 that fit that criteria. Then what you would do is you filter from highest to lowest revenue, because obviously you want to make the most money you can. And you look at your top comps of those top like 5 to 10 that are up there. And there's going to be some key things that you're going to notice. Some things that come to mind are bedroom count, guest count, because oftentimes, even if you just juice up your guest count by like 1 or 2 people and figure out a way to get more people in there, that helps. But you'll be able to see the pictures of those, and it'll pull out those key amenities visually that you'll be able to see, whether that be a pickleball court or, some cool design. But then that's where we also have this new amenity feature that excludes 90% of what everybody else has, and it shows that top 10% of what those key amenities are. And so oftentimes, honestly, pool is like one of the major ones of it. Doesn't have to be, but having some water feature like a cowboy pool or above ground pool or some pool is like usually a main driver. Pool and hot tub. Um, but there's also these other like really unique amenities like golf simulator, goats on the property for like petting, letting people experience goats, but you're able to like visually see that in the pictures once you identify that comp set.
Wow, that is really that helps to streamline it too, so you're not just going through it manually. I love that.
Right.
No, I could just add on to that. I love this is where what we do and what Matt do ties together so well. Always be thinking when you're going to add an amenity, just understand it's not just enough to just have the amenity in a lot of cases, right? We see this more and more, and especially competitive markets. It's how you're going to market that amenity, and always be thinking about that as you put that amenity in place, right? There might be some markets where just adding that hot tub now separates you from everybody else, or there's other markets where you're just now one of 100 and 200 properties that has a hot tub. How are you going to make your hot tub look that much more inviting, appealing? Is it going to be the backdrop? Is it going to be how you stage it? Always thinking about those things. That's where what you do, Brittany, becomes so important. Is that design and decor aspect really like brings everything full circle, right? Like you figured out you need this amenity. Now you've gone out, you've spent the money, you've gotten it. The worst thing is to just end right there and now not create the most perfect marketing around that amenity, because it's not going to make you any more money if it's not selling people, on the OTAs.
No, that's such a good point. And like it's cool too what you all do, because in some places like more obvious where it's like, okay, there's not a single like dog park. And of course you have to make it aesthetically pleasing so it can be marketable on social media and all that. But it's like, okay, dog park, it might be obvious, or like barrel sauna, it might be obvious. There's none in this area. It's done really well in surrounding areas. But like for sometimes for like condos, even, I think it would be where you can't add things like that. I think that this tool is like super helpful to be able to see, okay, like what is there instead of just like looking for that one little thing. It's like, it's a lot quicker.
Absolutely. Any other questions? I see Kate Larson asked something here. Your A/B testing, do you guys do the reorder of the photos, or does the client, same with the other tweaks, do you initiate or do the clients? Mike, Dan?
Yeah, sure. And I did throw this in the thread there. We typically do it for our clients. Now, we do have a few clients here and there, they don't speak to this like that, hey, they want certain control or whatever. And we respect that and we work within that. So there are some clients that say, hey, can you pass the recommendations on to me and I'll take care of that? And that's no problem either. But at the same time, we typically do have the access and the relationship with our clients that we're able to go in and do that. And it makes it a little more streamlined and it saves them that much more time.
Yeah, we also will give them maybe recommendations of things that we can't do, like go take different photos or some things that we see with their listing that we think could help them. That's something that we can't change on our end. But if we can do it, again, like Mike said, our easiest clients are the ones who trust us to do what we're going to do and let us do our A/B testing and everything, because that's where we see the best results. The less restrictions get the best results. They're pretty much every time.
Awesome. What other questions we got? Hey, I will ask something while we're waiting. So, Mike and Dan, out of all the properties y'all manage, from a revenue management standpoint, there's probably, this top 10% that are kind of the cream of the crop that are just crushing it. Are there any interesting insights about those properties that we can learn from that we can apply today? I mean, oftentimes it's, hey, how much money can you spend to make these things really awesome, But not all of us have 500 grand or 200 grand to go invest in CapEx on these properties. So are there any interesting insights that we can apply today from these best performing properties?
Yeah, I'll share this, and this honestly applies to not just, well, the best performing properties, but to your point, it doesn't matter whether you're a 6 bedroom mansion or you're a 1 bedroom efficiency unit, right? Where whatever you have, we always just want to maximize the revenue potential for that given listing and that given property. And one of the big things right now, we're telling this to people more and more, and this is where, as Dan touched upon, it's very much a relationship between us and the property owner because we can't do everything. And one of those things is having your property be a guest favorite. Airbnb leading the pack, but all the OTAs, they've really shifted their focus to quality over quantity. They want guests to have good experiences, leave good reviews. And so if you're not in that guest favorite category, you're 100% losing revenue. We don't know the exact formula to be a guest favorite, but we know that it ties into our reviews, it ties into any quality control issues, any guest complaints. So just to what Dan said, like maintaining that hospitality at the highest level and getting good guest reviews and avoiding problems, guest facing problems with your property, that's usually the biggest thing you can do on your end to ensure that someone like us or another revenue manager can provide the best returns for you on the back end.
Awesome. Hey, we got another question from Mark. Is Synergy Stays able to work with unique properties that have multiple uses, such as renting out a wedding venue along with overnight stays? I actually asked you this earlier because
Yes, you did.
my property I'm closing on next week is 7 bedrooms, 2 properties, and a barn on 6 acres with like this river thing. And we can do like a small wedding venue thing. So would love y'all's feedback on that.
Yeah, 100%. And to what we were saying earlier, Matt, yeah, we can. We definitely do work with some properties that fall into that category. There's definitely, we didn't touch upon the marketing side too much earlier, but that's where it's gonna be really important to incorporate that marketing along with revenue management, the hospitality, because yes, you're gonna get some wedding bookings and things like that through Airbnb, but there are so many other channels and networking opportunities available to you. So we're definitely going to make sure you capitalize on that as well.
Mark's in Fredericksburg too. Are we competing with each other? No.
Uh-oh.
We'll help each other out. Help each other out. Hey, reach out to me. I'd love to chat with you. We can share notes, help each other. Cool. We got about 5 minutes left. Maybe one more question if anyone's got a question you want to ask.
Or a problem or challenge you're facing with your property. Let us help you.
Don't be shy. Well, how about we do this? If there's any other questions kind of trickling in, let's talk about where people can reach out to us, any offers we have, and then if we've got a little bit of time at the end, we can still do some Q&A. So, hey, if y'all want to reach out to us at Strike, we've got or just even test it out. If you're trying to find a profitable deal or even maximize revenue at your current property, we've got a 30-day free trial plus 20% off using Blueprint 20 as the code. So you can go to striq.com and plug in that code. And honestly, even try it out for 30 days and cancel if you wanted to. But it's free for those 30 days. Check it out. Hopefully it adds tons of value to you and helps you find that deal or even maximize your revenue. And then I think Synergy Stays has an offer as well.
Yeah, we're happy to do a revenue review for you. Obviously, you get a lot of this information with Strike, but if there's any more details, we could dive deep into one of your properties. We also are willing to do no onboarding fee, which is about a $250 value per unit. And our pricing as far as per unit kind of tiers and depends on how many units we're going to be working on with you, but it starts at $300 per month for one unit, then tiers down from there. Again, it depends on how many units. So we can have that discussion if you have several units that you'd like to work with us on. And just up until this Friday, if you use RevPAR 26, we'll be giving that discount for anybody who's been on the webinar. and
Awesome.
we'll talk about how you can get a hold of us right here.
Perfect. Yeah, you can reach out to me at matt.sanderson@striq.com. We even have a free school community where we just educate people and train people for free on all this stuff. So if you're not ready to buy a property, if you don't have one yet, but you're just kind of getting started and want to learn, it's a really great place to just start getting exposed to this stuff. And that way, when you are ready, you can take action very quickly.
Yeah, and you can reach us. It's synergystayslocal.com if you want to just go right to our website. But that's my contact information, my personal email, cell phone number right there if you want to get a hold of me. And then you can also follow us on social media.
Awesome. Well, I think that's it. Any more questions that we've got before we wrap this thing up? Leslie, do you see any more from anyone? Okay. Well,
Uh,
hey, thank y'all. Oh, wait, what?
No, I was going to say I appreciate everybody's time. I appreciate everybody hopping on here. Hope you got some really good nuggets, and anything we can do to help you out at all, reach out to us on our end.
Hey, one final thing I'll leave y'all with, closer. My Canyon Lake house that I had y'all engaged on. This is from my cleaner. This is a text message. She goes, if you're comfortable tutoring me a little bit, I'm very curious about your sudden boost in bookings. Very cool, whatever it is, and I'm always a student. Only if you're comfortable sharing. If not, that's okay. I just know I ask questions, and I want to learn from those people that are having success. And uh, and I said, yeah, sure thing. I'd love to tell you. And she goes, stick with what's working. That's amazing. The proof is in the calendar, and yours has changed drastically, at least from my vantage point. And I told her later that, hey, really the secret sauce was I hired Synergy Stays and just let them take over it, and I stopped doing it and getting out of my own way. So anyway, that's proof right there, even from my cleaner. That's like, holy crap, what are you doing that's different than all these other people in Canyon Lake? Your property is crushing it. So hear it from me. Totally worth it. You need to go hire Synergy Stays. They are incredible. So thank you all for joining us and look forward to the next webinar together.
Appreciate everyone.
Talk
Thanks,
soon.
everyone.
Bye.